Honkai Star version 2 beta testing has already been updated and it is actually looking very spicy. Now, when this version update happens, it always brings some of the character changes, especially the nerfs, buffs and also other things. Now, in this version, we do have a lots of new characters, especially the Himeko SP, which is a awakened version of its own standard version, and another two character which comes from the Fate Part 2 collab, which is consist of a Gilgamesh and also the Rin. Now, when it comes to the changes, Himeko SP is the first character who got the changes and nerfs and buffs on her kit, and other rest of the character, which is Gilgamesh and also the Rin, they does not even have any of those like changes from the previous version 1. So without further ado, let's see what kind of changes that we already got for the Himeko SP version. Now for the changes for the Himeko Nova in version 2, she does have two types of changes. First one, on her playstyle, some of the number already been some buff, and for the another changes that already will happen to her, which is going to be her LC, some of the number are already got buff, some of the number already got nerfed. So without further ado, let's just see what kind of changes on her playstyle at first. So as you already know that Himeko Nova does have some kind of like a two types of playstyle. First one is going to be the Companion Protocol Verdict, and second one is going to be the Companion Protocol Decimation. Now these two types of playstyle does somehow dependent on some Astral Express member to proc it, which I'm going to explain later. But before then, that let me give you a TLDR what actually Himeko required. Himeko is very much restricted when it comes to the team building selection. Yes, she really required the Astral Express member to maximize output of her damage and also output her of a QQL life. What did I mean by the QQL life? QQL life means if you don't even have the Astral Express member on the Himeko's teammate, then I guess you are not going to able to proc the free assist skill point. Whenever your Astral Express member are going to deploy their ultimate and also the skill point 2 times or 1 times, your Himeko are going to deploy free assist skill point, which doesn't even consume any of those like a turn. It is kind of considered as a follow-up turn when she is actually in her off turn, which is very much of a helpful to maximize her output of her ultimate and also make her ultimate always up to the time. And other than that, when it comes to these two types of playstyle, especially the Companion Protocol Verdict and also the Companion Protocol Decimation, if you don't even use any of this like Astral Express team member, you are going to lose those two playstyle, which means you are also losing 50% of her kit, which doesn't even have any of this like a value, and she is going to be very much of worse than any of this like a 1.0 version characters. Anyway, let's talk about that what kind of dependency that already been holding these two playstyles, especially the Companion Protocol Verdict and also the Companion Protocol Decimation, and also what kind of changes number already been happen in this version 2. Now for the Companion Protocol Verdict, these types of playstyle are going to be revolved around only the Himeko, and she is the only one who is going to be played as a pure DPS, not even going to give some of this like a buff. You already know that Himeko does somehow provide some of the buff towards the whole team member whenever any of this like a team member already been on her team. So for these types of playstyle, all of this like a rest of the team member are going to be played as a battery for her ultimate generation. Other than that, she is also going to give towards herself to make the damage maximize output. If I just give you a number, in her version 1.0, she just gives her a 100% kit damage whenever she is just totally on her ultimate field, which is the very much of important things that you have to know. But in this version 2, kit damage 100% increase to 200%, which is a total of a 100% increase, which is actually going to be helpful to deal a much more amount of damage from the previous version. It is also going to be applied that if you really want to play Himeko as a full pure DPS, she is also going to be get benefited for this version 2. Now for this Companion Protocol Verdict, there is some kind of a restriction which you need to fulfill before just having this playstyle, and those restrictions are going to be some certain team members. And in this team member selection, if you are just somehow using the Trailblazer, any of its version, especially it could be Elation, it could be True Damage, it could be Remembrance, any of those like a version. If it is like a Trailblazer, DHPT and also Sunday, you can even have this kind of like a playstyle which is a Companion Protocol Verdict. Other than that, it is actually going to be very much of a hard for you to proc any of those like a things in here. And another playstyle which is going to be the Companion Protocol Decimation, and this kind of playstyle does not even revolve around the Himeko as the Companion Protocol Verdict. In Companion Protocol Verdict, Himeko is played as a pure DPS, but in the Companion Protocol Decimation, she will be played as a fully support DPS. Why am I saying this? Because in here she doesn't even provide any of those like a buff on herself, rather than she just totally buff towards the team members skill crit damage. Yes, that's the main thing that you have to understand. For the version 1, the crit damage increase up to 80%, but for this new version 2, that totally nerf up to down to 50% from the 80 to 50%, which is the very much of a highly nerf from the previous version. And these types of playstyle, if you really want to play, there is some certain team members to proc it, which is going to be the Welt and also the March Evernight and also the March base version, which is kind of like a 4-star shield version. So if you really want to select any of this like a playstyle from these two playstyle, I would like to say if you just somehow use all those characters in one team, especially Welt to have this like a Companion Protocol Decimation playstyle, and also another like a Sunday to proc the Companion Protocol Verdict, or like a Trailblazer to also proc the Companion Protocol Verdict, I guess you could even just totally do it to mid-max the whole of her damage, which is actually very much of a flexible when it comes to team building section. But the team selection of a restriction is actually very much of a bad when it comes to a long-term goal. Anyway, there's the change of her playstyle, and also there's the change of her total of a kit from the version 2. Now let's talk about the Himeko's Litecoin changes. Yes, Himeko's Litecoin changes already been happened, and some of those like a number already been nerfed and some of those like a number already been buffed. So let's see what kind of buff that she already get from her previous version. So the buff that she already get from her previous version, which is going to be the assist skill damage, which is a 20 to 25%. Whenever Himeko is going to be deal a damage of a assist skill, some of the robot are going to be deployed on the field, and that robot are going to be do a follow-up damage, and that robot also going to be count as a AoE damage, not like some of those like a single target damage, some of those like a distraction like 3 types target damage. It is going to be fully AoE skin wipe types of damage. Anyway, it is already increased by 5%. In version 1 it was like a 20%, in version 2 it is like a 25%, as you can see through my screen. And for the another nerf which is already been happened, it is kind of like a significant nerf, which is going to be the ultimate damage are totally down to 50% from its previous version. In the version 1 it was like a 60%, in version 2 it is a 30%. Damn man, that much of a decrease from its previous version, because as you already know that Himeko's assist skill also does provide some of those like a huge buff, but when it comes to her ultimate, it is the main of her whole damage final point. If the damage is not even that much of a good one, I guess there is no point that you should even use the Himeko, and also there is no point just totally pulling for her signature weapon at the last of the moment. So that was all for the Litecoin effect buff and nerf, and also on her playstyle buff and nerf. So if I just give you my own opinion about this kind of like a changes on this version 2, all I wanted to say, however, she's trying to make her a full DPS mode, but having a full DPS mode, I guess lowering down on her like ultimate damage on her Litecoin is not even justified, and the buff that they're actually providing in a Litecoin effect, which is the assist damage by 5%, 20 to 25%, it does not even have any kind of value at all. But when it comes to the playstyle changes, it does not even changes of her whole overall the damage that much. Why am I saying this? Because her full damage is totally comes from her 25% respawn. Yes, that's the main thing. If they just somehow touch that part and also lowered it down up to at like a 20 to 50%, I guess that will be the time that I guess you should be totally skipping her at any cost. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you like it, leave a like, and also if you do have any kind of like a question for this like a version 2 changes, you can even totally let me know into the comment section, and see you in the next video.